Hey guys, it's Dan here. In this week's episode, let's talk about decentralized finance, short DeFi. So in this video, you will learn two things. First of all, of course, what is DeFi? What is decentralized finance? You will see it's pretty complicated, but I will simplify it to the maximum. So it's going to be a real beginner's guide because DeFi is pretty complicated, let's be honest. And then second of all, of course, let's talk about pros and cons. Does it make sense or doesn't make it sense to invest or to look at decentralized finance? All that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll. Okay, so in my opinion, to understand decentralized finance, you have to understand centralized finance first, which is today's system basically. So what is very centralized today? I give you a few examples. For example, if you want to have a bank account, sounds like a very boring, simple thing, but actually it's a very centralized process because, of course, if you're opening a bank account, your information will go to the bank will give it to the central bank probably to the government, depending on your country. And so there is a real big security check behind, for example, in the US, so very centralized. Same if you're borrowing or lending money. Usually it goes, your credit score will be very important. It's going to be checked against a central database. You know where I'm going. So again, this is very centralized process. And then for everything which is related to trading and exchanging. Think, for example, today if you want to buy US dollars and sell euros, for example, on a platform, again, it's going to go through, it's pretty complicated, but I keep it simple. It's going to a clearing house, which is basically a system that is very centralized to make sure that the settlement takes place basically. So it's an intermediary here, and again it's very centralized. And even if you are investing today, when you're investing you need a bank account. So if you're an unbanked person or if you simply want to invest without a bank account, it's going to be pretty complicated. Why? Because all these activities today in finance are of course heavily regulated because they are centralized. Of course, there are some pretty nice benefits, but the drawback clearly of a central system is, well, first of all, the information is shared with a lot of people. A lot of people don't like that. Then, talking about privacy and all these things, then of course it's usually pretty expensive. Think about in the US with the bank fees, how long it takes to send money and all these things. It's because it's heavily regulated and especially centralized. So now what's the goal of decentralized finance? What's the idea behind? Well, that's kind of the idea of tomorrow, or sometimes it's called the finance of tomorrow. And I give you a few examples. So instead of having a bank account and going through all this process, why couldn't you just have an app with internet so everybody who has a smartphone could have such a service? And imagine it would be like a wallet, okay? So instead of having a bank account, centralized service, you could have your own banking app personally on a wallet without a bank. Another example, and of course I will dig deeper into the examples, but I just want to show you the differences. Then, for example, today, of course, for borrowing or lending, there is the entire credit check thing going on against a centralized database. Well, in the future, the idea of decentralized finance is that you don't need credit checks to borrow and lend money because it could be peer-to-peer. If you need $100 and I have $100 and I want to make a little bit more money, we could just exchange, or I could lend you basically peer-to-peer without a bank as an intermediary basically. Again, same for trading and exchanging. That's the same as I just explained, but with currencies, for example. If you want to convert, and I'll show you an example, if you want to convert one cryptocurrency to the other, today you can do it on a platform, and I'll show you an example, without any intermediary, okay? You don't need a bank in between, you don't need a stock exchange or something in between. And of course, investing ideally should be possible without the need of a bank account, which would make it decentralized. So as you can see, these ideas of the finance of tomorrow, or the decentralized finance, is of course to have services we already have today, but in a decentralized fashion. Let's put it like this. question, how do I get access to decentralized finance? How do I get access to DeFi? Well, it's actually a pretty simple process. I was surprised myself. It's a 3-step process I show you quickly. So the first thing you have to understand, so 1, 2, 3, is that you have to buy some cryptocurrency. In this case, you go to a website such as Coinbase, which is the biggest platform to buy and sell cryptocurrency. And then what you do is you are buying a cryptocurrency which is called ETH. That's not a drug, that's a cryptocurrency, which stands for Ethereum. And you do it with your real money. So what you're basically doing, it's the same as when you're going to Disneyland or to Las Vegas. Once you enter the game, you are trading, let's say, your US dollar against, in this case, Ethereum. In Disneyland it would be Disney dollars, or in Las Vegas it would be some specific coins, right? That's the first step. Why Ethereum? Well, because Ethereum is built on blockchain, same way as Bitcoin, but Ethereum is a bit more open source, so basically all the developers have decided to build the DeFi platform using Ethereum. I would like to skip all the complicated technical part, because let's walk into the example and keep it very simple. Okay, so at this phase here, you have traded your US dollar, for example, on Coinbase against some Ethereum cryptocurrency. So now you have your Ethereum. So your cryptocurrency, not in your hand, but in your computer, basically. So now what do you have to do? Well, now you can download what is called an Ethereum wallet. It's the same as your Google wallet or your Apple wallet. It's basically an app on your phone where you can put your digital currency, in this case your Ethereum, inside. And so the biggest platform or the biggest app to do it, or the most popular, is called MetaMask. As you can see, it's pretty simple. I walk through it pretty quickly. The thing you have to understand with cryptocurrency, what is very important, is the password, or the gate to your crypto money is a password. So if you lose that password, or if you give it to someone, well, you're screwed, basically. So don't forget that. But here at this phase, you now have your Ethereum, so your cryptocurrency, and now you have a wallet where your cryptocurrency, your Ethereum, is inside. And now comes the interesting part, because now you are set up basically with your Ethereum that is in the wallet to use all kinds of decentralized finance services. As I just mentioned earlier, it's a work in progress. It's a futuristic approach, of course, but with the services you already know from finance. So for example, once you have access to the services I just told you, you could use Ethereum, or your Ethereum wallet, your digital money, to your crypto money, to spend it on different websites, or to borrow or to lend your money to someone else if you want to make more of it, for example, like a bank, basically. And for that I give you a pretty straightforward website. It's not sponsored or something like that. I found it pretty easy to use, basically. It's called Aave, Aave, I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically, as you can see, once you have your Ethereum, you can either borrow, deposit, or trade it against other cryptocurrencies, if you are, of course, familiar, and if you want to multiply your money, for example, by lending it to someone else directly, peer-to-peer, okay? And then, of course, you can also invest it. Again, there are different websites, and it's all a work in progress. It's a bit like with the app stores at the beginning in 2007, 2010, all the developers are building better and better stuff to make decentralized finance, to make DeFi, well, an even better place for the future, right? We know how decentralized finance works. Now let's look at the pros and cons quickly. First of all, on the pro side, of course, you hold your own money. As I told you earlier, you are buying your cryptocurrency and you're putting it into your own wallet, which is decentralized, okay? It doesn't depend on a bank, it only depends on you, okay? So you are really holding your money compared to someone who has US dollars, for example, and brings it to the bank and tells the bank, basically, it's my money, but you are holding it. That's a big difference, okay? Because, of course, if you are holding your own money, you can decide whatever you want to do, for example. And another pro, for example, is that you can decide to lend it directly and to get interest. You can lend out your money to someone else on a platform that I just showed you, and you get some interest to do that, which is not possible if you're a normal bank client, of course, okay? Then this decentralized finance is built on the blockchain, and without getting too technical, that's a very good thing. Why? Because blockchain is very transparent. There is kind of a public ledger, and each transaction that ever happened is listed inside this transaction list. So basically it's very transparent and it's very secure as well. Another big advantage of decentralized finance, and that's also the big advantage of Bitcoin and why it became popular, is that it is anonymous. On these platforms, once you have sold your US dollars and once you have bought your Ethereum cryptocurrency, you are just trading using pseudonyms, you know, so it's not you're not using your real name or your real identity, which can be pretty good if you value your privacy, of course, right? And then it's also very interesting, there are about 20%, so 1 out of 5 people in the world who do not have a bank account, so that's of course a huge potential here, because it's great, of course, for unbanked people. Why are people unbanked? Usually maybe they are undocumented or they do not have a new renewed passport and all these things, so they cannot really open an official bank account. This is great, of course, because you just need to go to a crypto website and buy your cryptocurrency to do all kinds of services in decentralized finance, such as investing and saving and all these things. On the other side, of course, on the cons, as I just mentioned earlier, don't lose your password, because it's a decentralized app, basically with your money inside. If you're losing your password or in it to someone else, big trouble, okay? So that's definitely a huge con. If you're used to lose passwords and all these things, think twice, right? And then, of course, something that a lot of people forget, but what is very important is the currency risk when you're exchanging to Ethereum. I give you an example again. As I just mentioned earlier in the process, you are selling US dollars to buy Ethereum, right? So there is a currency exchange rate, and the Ethereum fluctuates, of course. So sometimes you get maybe 100, the other one you get 1,000, and so on. So as you can see, there is what is called a currency risk when you are buying into the cryptocurrency and when you are selling your cryptocurrency to go back to the US dollar, for example. So don't forget that, because that can there's a lot of volatility in the market, so that can be a huge impact, positive and negative, of course. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the entire decentralized finance is still a work in progress. It's kind of the app store in the early years of the smartphones, you know. A lot of good stuff happening in the future, but we are not yet there. That's why personally I do not use decentralized finance so far, but I really have my eyes open for future services, of course, because I really believe it's going to be part of the new finance. Imagine less transaction costs, sending you money quicker and all these things. It's going to be very beneficial, I believe, for the entire world, if it lives up to the potential and if the developers are continuing to produce better products, of course. Question to you: do you use any kind of decentralized products? Anything to recommend? Everything you have used? Maybe bad experiences, good experiences? Let me know in the comment section below. Maybe we can start a little discussion. Otherwise, I wanted to let you know, of course, I publish once a week every Sunday corporate finance, market finance content. I try to make it high value all the time. So if you like that kind of style, that kind of content, make sure to subscribe, of course. Make sure to like. Very important for the algorithm, so it's going to be seen by more and more people. Enjoy your week, stay safe, stay smart. See you, bye guys.